Well, thank you very much, Robert, and it's a great pleasure to be here. You'll note that my work involves working with Australia and New Zealand. We've done quite a deal of work in recent years, over almost a decade, in Asia, working with cities, particularly in Indonesia, but also in the Philippines and India and Bangladesh, looking at how those cities can be resilient to climate change, to the impacts that are happening now and the impacts likely in the future. But I say I'm very pleased to be here because this is my first opportunity to actually talk to you from the Pacific Islands. And this gives a great opportunity to talk about what we do, what you wish to do now and into the future, and what role an organisation like ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, can play in partnership and collaboration with you. As our name suggests, sustainability, and we're a worldwide organisation with regional secretariats around the world. I'm Regional Director for Oceania. We have offices in Manila, in the Philippines, in India, also offices in Taiwan and in Korea, in the Asia-Pacific region, in Japan. So we're very strong within the Asia-Pacific region, and we see ourselves as playing an important role. We also have offices in other parts of the world. I was fortunate enough to attend the Rio Plus 20 conference in 2012, obviously in Rio de Janeiro. Rio Plus 20 because it was 20 years post Agenda 21. And the people from local government, that is you, wrote Local Agenda 21, our pathway, our framework for sustainability. And I think that's what really underpins our work at local government level. And service delivery underpins sustainability, because without effective, accessible, accountable, responsible services and delivery of those services, then I don't think we at the local level can claim to be sustainable. So that's an important part of the role. And I think we've had the three speakers look at the ocean state, the regional state, and in fact the territory state. And it's the state in which local governments have to work, either within an island context, within a regional city context, and in a territory state or regional context. And I think you'll agree with me, the presentations have been very informative, and now it's your opportunity to actually respond to not only what they've said and maybe question some of their information and their experience, but also to give us an idea of where what models, what challenges, what opportunities in your local governments are you experiencing in terms of service delivery. We have a slide here, we should have a slide here, which will show the various questions which we're looking to respond to. I think simply, how can we strengthen local government departments? That is, local government departments who are working at that national state level to effectively monitor local government. So that's the first question. How can we strengthen our relationship with those other agencies? Secondly, what models are being tried in your region? We'd like to hear what models you've been working on. We've heard some of the minimum service standards in PNG. What other models are there? What are the levels of locally raised revenue, and how can this be increased to help strengthen service delivery? I mean, obviously to deliver services we need resources, we need funding. How can we use partnerships within the region and with Australian and New Zealand counterparts as a way of strengthening our delivery capacity? So I think they're the first questions we'll take for the next 10 minutes or so, and then we'll finish by any recommendations. It's important that we have some recommendations back to the plenary of the forum and also the role of the CLGF. So have we a microphone? Have we a microphone in the House? There must be a microphone somewhere that's going to be taken around. No, we don't have a microphone. Do we have a question? Do we have a question? Do we have a comment that someone would like to make in relation to what they've heard this afternoon? Now, I know lunch was very fulfilling, but I'm hoping you've got some food for thought. Thanks very much. And just if you could give your name and where you're from so everyone knows.
Hi,
Thanks.
my name is Danica Blacklock. I'm a consultant and advisor with CLGF. And one of the issues, it fits, I think, within all of the questions, but more actually raises an issue which all the presenters have made, not specifically, but is more of a overarching issue, which is we talk about talking the talk, and the local governments, talk about what we need to do. Central government say we're going to do this, partners say we're going to help you do this, and we spend a lot of time talking, yes, and then nothing actually happens. I think one of the other things that we need to do on the other side of that coin is also manage the expectations of communities of what can actually happen and in what time frame. I think a lot of promises are made about what the government can do if they had resources, but we don't talk about how long it takes for certain things to take place. Building a school, for example, doesn't happen overnight. Building a road, and there's always the challenges, the logistical challenges that we talk about. And my question to the panel members and also everyone else here is how do we go about doing that? How do we build that into part of our daily work of managing the expectations of communities of what can actually happen in a realistic way?
Okay. Do we have a response from any of the speakers? I have a microphone. I think I can get this microphone out. Oh, no. That's right. I think I've still got a microphone. Yes. Alan? Expectations.
Expectations, yes. It's a difficult one because if people don't understand the process or they haven't been told, then their expectations will continue to not change. But if we do explain it to them clearly that, okay, a new school's needed, that will take 2 years, or 3 years or whatever. Here's the process. This is why. I think if we tell them that and then we deliver, as we said, then perhaps people's expectations can be managed to be realistic to what can be achieved. I'm sorry, did anyone here remember the meat substitution problem in England last year? People were buying products thinking it was beef, but it was horses. And someone this morning talked about flogging the dead horse or flogging a horse that wasn't carried around. Well, that's where they end up, in the lasagna in England. So I'm sorry if you bear with me for my poor joke I'm about to tell you, but it's about expectations and about what's on the packaging. If we tell the people in remote communities what we are really going to do, and we really do it, then they might have faith and confidence in what we're doing. But like the packaging on the lasagna that said it's beef, but people were buying something that it wasn't. So it's important to do what we say on the packaging. So on our websites, on all our plans, we talk all these nice things. It's what we do that really counts. Now, to get my joke about this, sorry, but... no, I've got a joke. I've got to get the joke.
Quick with the joke.
I got myself some of those lasagnas from England where the horse meat was in. And I got them and I brought them home and I tasted them myself to see which one I thought was the best. So I got one from Tesco's, Aldi's and Woolworths, the big supermarkets in London, and I tasted them and I thought Tesco's won by a nose.
Thanks very much. Another question or comment? Service delivery. What's happening in your microphone? Tessie wants to answer that question too. No jokes, Tessie.
I'll try it. I think that's a very, it's a very important question. And well, I'm not a politician, so I think our governments, whether it's be national, provincial, or local, that's they promise things to meet the demands or the needs of their communities. But I think the realities they're different in our communities and in our countries. But the commitment is there, and I think the important thing is for governments to demonstrate their commitment to meet the needs of their people. But I think that's why it's also important to consider the factors that might inhibit the delivery of that commitment, because the commitment is there, and we experience this a lot in Kiribati. We've had lots of projects that we have promised the island councils. Every island council is is allowed or encouraged to provide a one priority project for funding by government. The implementation of this is always the issue. And it's not because the government is not walking the talk. It is doing that. But there are lots of factors that I guess in the smaller island countries in our region face. One is transport. Because of our geography, it's very hard to deliver. If we're promising goods or the infrastructure, most of those materials have to come from the capital. Getting those and also waiting for those to arrive from overseas, time is of the essence. But getting them to the outer islands is also a challenge because I say we only have one properly operational aircraft and only a few ships. And there are some islands to which the commercial shipping lines do not go because they're not viable. And I think the governments do walk the talk, but there are natural physical factors that they have to deal with, the challenges that are beyond their control. And also the other factors are the resource and capacity constraints on the islands. Once you get, and I talk about the build, neglect, and rebuild, they deliver, but then sustainability of those is also a challenge. But I think it's important to take note of the different contexts within which our governments operate. And it is a fact that there's some things that we may not be able to deliver because of the resource constraint, or something happened like I was talking about the impact of storm surges on the infrastructure. We have to redirect resources towards rebuilding that. So these are some of the factors that our local governments and our central governments face in trying to deliver on their promises.
Thank you. Do we have another question or comment that someone would like to make? Yes, I'll put one down here and then one. A microphone, thanks very much. Right down the front here, thank you. Oh, no, we'll get the microphone first and then we'll, so we can all hear. Thanks. Just your name and where you're from, thanks.
I'm Odie from the Cook Islands.
Good.
My comment is actually addressed by Tessie, but I'd like to mention the issue about over-consulting, because he talked about the creatures get over-consulted. And for us, in a small island, it is quite an issue. Yeah. Sometimes, because there's hardly any transport to go to the islands, it seems to be the only way everybody gets to the island is where there is a plane or a ship. And they all seems to go to this place in about the same time. Mm. So you have to program your consultation amongst so many other stakeholders who are going there to consult with the same people that you want to deal with.
Yes.
And these people do get fed up. They also open their mouth and say, you've been here last year, what have you progressed? Now you're coming back to us again to ask similar questions or something based on what you talked about last year. Okay. And in that situation, because of isolation, it can be a problem.
Yeah, it's a very good point. A question behind. We won't take a comment on that at the moment. Question behind. Thank you.
A problem.
Your name and just where you're from.
My name is Jim McPherson. And it is very difficult to get any statement on our immediate concerns, say for an elementary school or for placement of a market or for different kinds of zoning to the NCDC, because we don't have local governments.
Okay, I think we'll take that as a point unless someone would like to respond. Is there another comment or another question around anything you've heard or something that our speakers have presented you'd like to ask a question about? I think Odie might be back on again. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm back again.
No.
Our issue is actually delivering of engineering services. So local government also deliver engineering services into protect.
Question, but I'm wondering if you'd like to think about what recommendations you would like to make coming out of the forum in relation to service delivery. I mean, what do you in your local community and your local government would you see as something the forum needs to address at the end of the sessions? Does anyone have a comment on that? Yes, just up the back. There's someone who wishes to make a comment. Thank you.
So I didn't really get what you're saying, but in terms of our city, we are not part of the organic law on local provincial governments, and because we are under an NCDC Act that says that we are a capital city, but because it is a province, they also said it's a province, and therefore, we operate as a city authority and as a provincial government. But the one problem that was also, which I said is one of the challenges that we face, is that we don't have the local level governments in the 3 electorates. So if that happens, then we will have a ward system within the 3 electorates. The ward members will elect a president and then vote in a president to represent them at the NCDC board, which we think is a better representation of the city residents than through the open members. But again, that's a political interference into our NCDC Act. Yeah. But we are thankful that the Prime Minister has given us so much money, because in Prime Minister's vision, he wants to have 4 major cities. NCD, Port Moresby is 1 city, Lae is 1 city, Mount Hagen and Kokopo is another city. So what we think is that the Prime Minister wants to build up the capacity of Port Moresby before he starts building up the other cities. But we are thankful that the Prime Minister has given us about 900 million to fund our roads. NCDC will make a loan of another 530 million to fund the other 7 roads that are currently on tender now, and hopefully by the end of 2016 we should have a complete road network for the city. So we should have no excuses about services not being going to our city residents.
Can I just add to what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
What I'm saying is that when we look at our urban council,
What you're trying to say, for NCDC, we don't, as a province, we don't get any funding from the national government. From the national government, we only got 3 million kina. That's a grant that's given to us to provide infrastructure to schools. That's the only 3 million kina we get from the national government as compared to other provinces. What we did was that we submitted a submission to the government saying that we wanted these roads to be funded in preparations for the Pacific Games. So the government decided to give us that funding in preparation of the Pacific Games. But every year, the government only gives us 3 million just because of the local government financing that goes back where the funding allocation is made on the IRC revenue 2 years previously. So the funding that we get is not what we want. It's much less than what we require. When we had the GST operated by NCDC, we had more money than we were getting now. That was some years ago, before the GST became lower and only the IRC would collect the GST contributions. But prior to that, NCDC was making its own money through GST. And still we are all making our money through our small building fees, planning rates, garbage rates, and land tax. We are fortunate that the LNG Napa Napa oil refinery came in operation. That gave us a boost in our revenue. Unfortunately, the LNG project is out of our province. So we've suffered because we had to maintain the roads that LNG vehicles were operating. They never contributed any funding to fix our roads. But the government has only given us 3 million until in the last 2 years. That is, it has given us about 1 billion kina now.
Okay. I think you've made your point very well, Michael, and certainly that's an issue that obviously you've raised on behalf of those councils. We have another question up the back. Two last. Is the microphone? Yes, thank you. Thanks very much.
And especially recycling. Recycling of PET bottles and aluminum cans. This is now being done by the private sector in collaboration with our local governments and the Ministry of Environment, Lands and Agricultural Development. So there is an element there, but I agree there should be, that should be expanded to other forms of service delivery, including health. We are integrating our traditional birth or midwifery into our health system. So there's also community. But I agree that we need to look at all the members of and different sectors of our societies to improve the service delivery.
Thank you.
Sorry, in terms of NCDC, you know, we are looked at as being a model for the country and being a capital city. You know, we think we've gone through some lessons learned. So we'd like to impart the lessons that we learned to other urban local communities or urban cities. And I think in the last year we had discussions with Kokopo urban local government as well as Lay City Authority to look at how we can be able to assist them. With the Kokopo local level government, we looked at how they could apply our land rates program. Software it was called the TAMIS program, where you get all the land input in that program, and it gives you the land rates on how much to charge to your city residents. We wanted to help the Lay City Council with our engineers to be sent up to help supervise their roads. We also wanted to help set up one of the probably the regulatory services system in Lay City authorities. So we're still working on those possibilities. We know we've made mistakes in the past, and we don't want the other urban centers to go through the same problems that we faced. So we'd like to impart some of our knowledge to other centers within the country. But also we are lacking our PNGU LLGA, which were the backbone behind all of these workshops that we had, and we would attend these workshops to support the other LLGs within the country. But we are now looking at how to revive that PNGU LLGA, and once we do that, we can be again supporting our urban council, urban city authorities and councils. Thank you.
Well, I'll hand back to Robert to thank the speakers, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Once again, I would like to thank all the speakers.